Oh, Lusitani. We love the Lusitani. They are back, and so is Egypt. And now this one should be interesting. These are going to be two factions who fight, I would say, quite differently, but in some ways they're similar in the sense that Egypt doesn't really like to, just go bang on into a melee. Lusitani kind of like to get into a melee, but both of them are not terribly survivable in like longer grind out fights. Now there are exceptions to that on the Egyptian side, in case you get like a Royal Thorax sword like this unit. This is definitely one of the exceptions to that, or a Galatian Royal Guard, something like that. Look at this though. Oh my gosh, I was sitting here saying that about Egypt, and I come over and they have 4 of the Royal Thorax swords. Wow. Those are some very heavily armored, very defensive, but also capable on offense swords. It's going to be interesting. Lusitani are a glass cannon, and they usually need a quick knockout. They can certainly get a quick knockout against these Thurio Spears, but I do like the pick of these Thurio Spears. All these javelins flying in the way of Lusitani. Lusitani do not have a lot of armor, and I think they do. I mean, they have shields, but they're not probably the most amazing. It's going to be interesting. Mercenary Rhodian Slingers up front. Wow, Egypt is packing some serious skirmishers. They're up against Balearics, so this is kind of cool. We have Elite Slinger on Elite Slinger. I want to say, if I remember right, the Rhodians do have a bit of an edge head-to-head. There's going to be a lot of factors that can come into play, like, for instance, are the Rhodians even going to shoot at the Balearics? They may just start shooting at the infantry. No, they are shooting Balearics. So, yeah, the Balearic Slingers are already taking some pretty serious damage. If we go take a look at the abilities, the Rhodian Slingers have the quick reload here. When it's used, I believe, gives them quite a bit more missile damage. And then the Balearic Slingers, I believe, also have the quick reload. I was trying to remember what the difference was between these units. The ammunition was 25 melee attack. I don't remember exactly what the difference was. Was it in the breakdown? Okay, one of those is Iberian Slingers, by the way, because I saw 4 there. So there are 4 slingers here. So it's 8 armor piercing for the Balearics. I think it's the same for the Rhodians. I wanted to say the Rhodians had like a slightly better, is it shots per minute was 8? Yeah, 7 shots per minute except for the reload there. Yes, I think the Rhodians have a slightly better shots per minute. That may be it. I was wanting to say that I remember the Rhodians having maybe just a slight advantage here. This is going to be a nice advantage for the Balearics, though, getting the help of those Iberians, just numbers-wise. So we'll see whether Egypt can do anything about it. If we look at the rest of these armies, we've got Citizen Cavalry and Light Cavalry moving up over here. There are some Tarentines out on the far left flank for Egypt. Then, like I said, the 4 Royal Thorax Swords. Ooh, are these Light Cavalry going to YOLO it? They're going to turn into the Scutari fight there, the Citizen Cavalry, and try and go for a quick knockout. But there's another Scutari headed in on a frenzied charge, and they are going to really put a wallop on these Egyptian cavalry. Yeah, the Egyptian cavalry went for a knockout blow there that wasn't going to happen because the Citizen Cavalry and the Light Cavalry just wasn't strong enough together to put a quick knockout. The Iberian swords were within reinforcement range. The Iberian slingers, I think, got a little bit of a misorder here because they've moved forward out towards that fight as if in a melee. But this puts the Lusitani in a strong position here. The let's see, the Rhodian slingers they're winning despite kind of having numbers against them. Look at this, that Lusitani Iberian swordsman just rolls out of that fight right into a Thurio Spears. That's not a bad place to throw this unit, because if the Thurio Spears haven't thrown their javelins and the swordsmen get in here and kill a bunch of them, that is good value for the Lusitani. And they will kill a lot of them. Iberian swords are very capable in a melee up against light units. They do pretty decently for their price range. So as far as the skirmish goes, it's interesting. We've had slinger-on-slinger combat here. Neither player has really picked at the other one's infantry. But we do have a push here. The Lusitani are sending yet more Iberian swords and a veteran shield warrior. So Egypt is going to have to get pretty serious about countering over here. This Thurio Spear moving up into a guard position. Their cavalry is now free to operate over here, and there are 3 Scutari cavalry in the neighborhood, and this light cavalry is going to be shut down. So not a good situation for Egypt, as they were already a little bit outnumbered. And let's take a look here. It does look like this Royal Thorax Sword may be fighting in a formation attack, which is why we see them kind of reforming and acting silly here. You definitely don't want to be in formation attack as these elite, any unit really. Now that Royal Thorax Sword's a little bit of risk here. These javelins are going to be quite valuable into the flank, and the Iberians now own this flank. And despite the good performance from the Rhodians, there's just very little here that can protect them from this type of thing. Multiple cavalry units inbound, and the Egyptians no longer possess the capability to ward that off. Those Iberian swordsmen being used to ward off the Tarentine cavalry at the moment. But let's see what happens over here. That Royal Thorax Sword is a very tough unit, and it is getting pretty solid kills, though it's taking a few losses here. So we'll see if that unit can keep stacking up the kills. Egypt might have a chance out here. Yeah, this is not good here either. Now that Royal Thorax Sword has opened its shielded flank, fortunately for them, but still it's a flank. Ooh, look at the rear charge here. This is going to start to add up. So the Thorax Sword probably could have pulled off a win here, but not with these rear charges happening at the same time, I don't think. But that armor will help protect them some against the Scutari. See those Thorax Swords activating, and then over here this Iberian Swordsman getting shut down, but still good value here in the sense that that Thorax Sword's being held to be shot by the Slingers. Egypt doesn't have much of an answer to those Slingers except for these Tarentine cavalry at the moment. And there is a good opportunity potentially to get after some, but look at the Scutari cavalry unchallenged, going to come up here and shut down those Rhodian Slingers. So numbers are going to be short for Egypt because they've gone elite. And I don't like the fact that they've stayed into this formation attack. I think formation attack is going to really hurt them here in the sense that their men can't kind of move up and all engage. See how they're constantly forming to try and face one direction? This keeps a lot of their units out of combat and means that they can't score a hit because they're just standing around. They're not active. So you definitely want to take these units out of formation attack. Nice hit on the Slingers. I had said that these Tarentine cavalry needed to get a piece of them, and they did. There is one more Iberian Slinger over here that could probably use a quick death. I don't know whether the Egyptians are going to be able to deliver said death. Look at this, though. The quality of the swordsmen over here really adding up. There's 3 of them all together, and they're just going to gang up and finish this flank off. The Lusitani are going to have numbers on their side here. What they'll want to do is move that Iberian swordsman around the flank and dump the javelins in. We'll see whether they do that. That certainly looks like what they're going to do. If they do that, then they can overwhelm that Royal Thorax Sword, and again, that's a risk of having the elites, is you're going to end up opening yourself up to some rather unpleasant flanking. Oof, that general just took a nasty volley to the back, too. And see, they just constantly reforming because of the formation attack. Again, would have been cool to see CA address stuff like formation attack and had that kind of be added into balance. Look how quickly this Royal Thorax Sword's getting dumped on by the javelins. The Iberian swords carry 5 javelins, and I believe in reality these guys may have carried the Soliferum, which was a solid iron javelin, which is not represented here, graphically speaking. Unfortunately, it would have been a cool-looking javelin. I believe the Iberians used it. I don't know for sure, but I want to say the Pila may have been a derivative of that, how it used the soft iron tip to bend in the shields. The Romans definitely picked up some weaponry from the Iberians, and it's pretty cool and understandable why they would have. The Iberians had some pretty solid weapons. Egypt's definitely going to make a fight out of this, but they've got a Lusitani noble left, and a lot of their Royal Thorax Swords are pretty beat up, and they're going to get a nasty charge here from that noble. And that noble is going to come in hitting like a tank here. Battle rhythm, headhunt, 76 melee attack right now, and 79 defense. It's already racked up 40 kills, even against these elite swordsmen. So I would say that Egypt really doesn't have a prayer here. And over here, this is a sad loss of a very elite unit without even killing a single mid-tier unit because these lighter units were able to outflank it. So this is a risk when you go numbers and someone's able to use, or sorry, when you go quality and someone's able to use numbers. Javelins are kind of like the great equalizer here, right? The javelins make these Iberian swords incredibly powerful when used properly. It's not always easy to use them entirely the way you want, but in this case, they were able to be done that way because Egypt had gone so elite, and so those Iberian swords become incredibly valuable. Look at this, 114 kills, 104 kills. This one picks up a chevron. I mean, really solid performance there. Veteran shield warriors end up with a solid performance. I mean, these Royal Thorax Swords, if they weren't in formation attack, and if they had a little bit of support, are certainly capable of killing a tremendous number of Lusitani troops because those troops are not heavily armored. However, when Egypt didn't have the support needed to keep those units safe, you saw the outflanking start to happen, and these units just weren't able to rack up the number of kills needed pay off. A solid performance out of the Rhodians here, though. So I mean, I think that was a good one here. So they really did well and held back a lot of slingers on the other side. There was 2 Iberians and 3 Balearics. So it just goes to show you how capable those Rhodians are. The Thurio spears, some of them did okay here, but just not able to pull it off. So interesting idea there to go nice and expensive with the infantry, but it just didn't work out here against the numbers of Lusitani. But thank you to Hotel Soap and War here. Appreciate them. And I will see you all soon with some more combat in Total War Rome 2.